Folks, you know you're getting old when you spend half of your life looking for the reading glasses that you just had, but you don't know what you did with them. You also know you're getting old when you decide to do a video on a piece of technology that was a huge part of your teenage years, but you realize there are people in your audience who have no idea what this thing is. Welcome to E-Waysted, and get off of my lawn.
Linux in its veins, open source drive, E-Waysted, not wasted, watch it come alive!
Hello everyone, and welcome to E-Waysted, a YouTube channel dedicated to finding new life and purpose for old computers and technology. My name is Tim, and today's guest of honor is this Denon DRM-700 cassette deck. Now, before I start to wax nostalgic about cassettes in the 1980s, I think I need to back up and explain exactly what a cassette is, what it does, and why this was such a big deal. Now, the cassette player played cassette tapes, like this one. In this case, a Maxell UDS-2. It was pretty good stuff back then. This one is about from 1985, I believe. And how these things worked is that there's a thin piece of plastic that is wound up on the reels here, and it's coated with a magnetic material. Now, when you recorded one of these things, it would take that magnetic material and put a magnetic field onto it. If you could look at the tape and see that magnetic field, it would look like a series of bars on the tape, kind of like these. And these bars, when you put it back into the tape player, would play back the music you had just recorded. Now, these things played back at about 1 7/8 inch a second, if I remember correctly, about 1.8. And that's important to remember because those magnetic bars we just talked about, well, they want to be kind of spread out. They want to have room to breathe, so to speak. And the cassette deck really didn't offer that. That's why if you look at reviews of Stereophile, of cassette decks, or editorials in the old stereo magazines, you would see a lot of people say these are not a hi-fi medium. And they're probably right. I like to think of these as the MP3 of the 1980s. They weren't great, but they were good enough. What they lacked in quality, though, they made up for in two really important factors. One, they were everywhere. Car stereos throughout the 80s, dorm rooms, living rooms, bedrooms. Everybody had a cassette player of one shape or another. Boom boxes, you name it. They were ubiquitous. The other thing that this format had going for it was that compared to the other ones in the world at that time, vinyl records, reel-to-reel, the cassette was super portable. What did that mean? That means that I could show up at a party and make everybody listen to Globe of Frogs by Robin Hitchcock and drive everybody crazy for 45 minutes. It also meant that if you're riding around in the back of your friend Andy's Pontiac Grand Am and he's getting ready to play Poison's Eat 'Em and Smile for the 5th time that night, you could pull out your Ramones Mania cassette and guilt him into putting it in the player. Ask me how I know about either of these. Again, ubiquitous, portable, and good enough. Now, from 1982 to 2000, this was the best-selling music format in America. Never mind that those pre-recorded cassettes were terrible. That didn't matter to me. What mattered is that I could make my own recordings. I could go to my friend Paul's record store in Ames, Iowa, Music Works, and I could buy the Bangles all over the place, which happens to be side A of this tape. And I could take it home, I could make a recording of it, and then I could play the cassette. I could play it on my crappy Sanyo Walkman or my buddy's car stereo or my Sony boombox. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. What mattered is that my vinyl record was at home and pristine, and is actually pristine until this day, whereas I could take the cassette and beat the snot out of it. If I needed to make another recording, I could, straight from source, no problems. The other thing that had going for it is that my buddy could go buy records at Music Works, bring them to my house, and we'd make 2 recordings. One for him, one for me. Now, this drove the Recording Industry Association of America crazy They hated this. It's piracy. And the funny thing about it is that, yeah, it was probably piracy, but you have no idea how many of those things I recorded on cassette I own multiple formats of to this day. Whether it be all those REM records, I bought them all again. Whether it be Joy Division, I bought multiple copies of it. Or, Guadalcanal Diary, I own a copy of it. It wasn't really piracy for us. It was more like advertisement. Oh, this is really good. I need to get my hands on this. Lo and behold, you go down to the record store, you spend money on Big Black's Atomizer. Piracy, whatever. Fortunately, their plan to put a tax on these things failed. About the time that was getting steam, these things started to go into decline. In 1990, the compact disc passed it in sales for music formats, and by the year 2000, only less than 2% of music sales were sold on compact disc. When this thing died off, it died off quickly. But fast forward to 2025, and this Denon DRM-700, which I just had serviced and is ready to go. Why? Well, two things. One, I don't know, I kind of like the idea of making mixtapes and sending them to my friends and having them go, what in the hell am I going to do with this? Because this thing that was so ubiquitous in all of our lives is now, well, it's a dead format. And I think it'll be fun to have them all scrounge around looking for something to play these things on and maybe having them get together in the process. There's nothing wrong with old friends getting together, and I think it would be a good way for them to swap some stories and drink some beers and have a good time. The other thing, and maybe the more important reason, is this guy right here. This is a recording of one of my old college radio shows. I don't need to hear most of this. I don't think there's a whole lot on here worth listening to, but there may be a couple of things that are. One is a station promo that I had recorded by Joey Ramone. I've had other people who were at the station ask me for this. If it's on here, it'll get digitized and I'll pass it along. I'd really like to hear that again. The other thing that I'd really like to hear is some of the station PSAs, particularly one by Eric John Magnuson, who, if you ever watch this, shout out, man. Hope you're well. He had a station promo about buffalo in national parks. I would love to hear that again. And with a little luck, I can dig that out, digitize it, and share it with the world. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll see what we can pull off of these and enjoy a little bit of nostalgia along the way. Let's get going. So as you can see, I have an awful lot going on a very small desk. This is basically my daily driver Windows setup, except moved in here to the studio. I have, from right to left, I have Klipsch bookshelf speakers, which are hooked up to the NAD amplifier. They are fed through that Sound Blaster card there, or Sound Blaster external sound card. Now, the thing about that Sound Blaster, and the reason I got it, is because it has RCA jacks in the back for in and out. That means it can connect to that stereo like it was a regular tape deck. And that receiver, or excuse me, that amplifier, the reason I got the amplifier is because it has tape 1 and 2. So I can have two tape decks running. In theory, I should be able to go from tape deck to computer or computer to tape deck. Shouldn't be a problem. The computer itself is a Lenovo 512. It's got a single core Xeon, or a single Xeon processor in it. It works pretty well. But that is what I've got going on here. Now, I have already tested out the tape deck and it plays back just fine. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to see if I can get it to record from the computer. Okay, so this is kind of a janky filming angle for me, but I couldn't figure out how else to do this. So I had originally thought, I could have everything facing the other side of the room like I usually do, and then I remembered I would need to have access to the computer and the tape deck at the same time, because I'm going to have to hit record. So let's go ahead and get this all set up. One quick note before I go forward, let's talk a little bit about tape deck lore. Now, the cassette in there is a brand new TDK D90 that I acquired off of Amazon the other day. I have a stash of these things around here. Don't ask me where they are. But I got a new tape. It's in here. And the first thing you do when you're going to do a recording is you want to take your finger and move that tape up a little bit so it's not on the plastic leader. Otherwise, you are just recording nothing onto nothing. So you don't want that. You end up with a gap at the beginning of your tape and your song is in the middle already. You don't want that. So I've gone ahead and moved that forward, got past the leader. Now you'll see here on this cassette deck I have a choice of what I want to monitor. I have source and I have tape. I want to be on tape. That's going to basically play the tape as it records. This is a 3-head deck, which means it can do that. It's got a separate record head and a separate playback head. All the decks that I had in the 80s and 90s did not have this. So this is fancy. And I think we are ready to go ahead and put this down on tape. So let me go ahead. I'm going to hit the record button here. Move to tape. And I'm going to hit play. And then I'll get us started on the record. And I'm going to hit play on the media player. And you can see the levels are bouncing. That's good. Okay, that's good. I'm going to stop this guy. Pause that. Yeah, okay. We have stuff recorded. Let's back it up here. And we have tape monitor turned on. This one is in the tape monitor position, so let's go ahead and hit play. We'll go through the leader here. Huzzah! We have music recorded to tape from computer. Success. Part 1. Cool. Let the mixtape fun begin. Now we're going to go on to step 2. Let's see if we can get music from the tape deck onto the computer. Well, folks, unfortunately, when you were dealing with 35-year-old technology like that Denon deck is, sometimes things don't go the way you planned. And this video is one of those times. The deck started to experience some serious pitch control issues while I was going through my radio show tape. Play fast, play slow, play okay, and I decided that it was maybe a good time to stop filming and put that tape aside. I've seen decks that have this kind of problem start to eat tapes, and I didn't want to go through that with really what is a one-off artifact from the early 90s. I can't exactly go make another one, so we're just going to call it a day here and move on. I do want to talk about my comment about the MP3 of the 1980s, though. Maybe that was my experience and the experience for a lot of people in my generation, because we couldn't afford the good stuff, you know? We didn't have knock decks. We didn't have, you know, good Sonys or Pioneers. In my case, I had a low-end Sharp Electronics deck with 2 heads. And I was doing better than a lot of my peers because they only had boom boxes. So, you know, if you had a high-end deck with HX Pro, then you were going to make a way better recording than I was going to. And if you have a deck from the later, you know, early mid-90s or so, sort of towards the end of the cassette deck era, you were doing even better because you had Dolby S plus all the improvements in head technology and transports and everything. You could make a solid recording way better than anything I could. So For a lot of us, yeah, the cassette was the MP3 of the 80s. But for everybody, no, not at all. And if you were in that group who could make a good recording, consider yourself to be very lucky. But with all of that said, I have sort of realized something while making this video, and that's that cassette decks are a lot of fun. There is really something to be said about, the analog world and all the things that we used to take for granted or now know how to do, like just for example, moving the tape across the leader before you hit record, or adjusting the levels, or playing with the bias level on the cassette. All of these different things that, are a lost art now. Well, they're kind of fun and something that you don't think twice about when you do a digital download. So with that in mind, I decided to go ahead and reward myself. I have a new toy coming. It should be here within about a week. And if you're thinking, hey, Tim, aren't you unemployed? Well, no, I am not. I start my new job tomorrow. And think of this as a present for surviving unemployment. So that should be here in a week, and maybe we'll pick up this cassette adventure then. I don't know. But either way, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you found anything about this video to be enjoyable, whether it was a trip down memory lane for some of you, or a look at a weird archaic piece of technology you've never seen before, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, the next video is going to be a case of do as I say and not as I do. And if you're interested as to what I mean by that, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Again, YouTube, not kind to new channels. So if you could hook us up and do any of these things, we'd appreciate it. But that is going to do it for this episode of E-Waysted. Don't worry, we will return to the cassette deck soon. But until then, remember to keep teaching those old dogs new tricks, and we'll see you later.
Not wasted.